Well, greetings from Austin, Texas. This is Rabbi David Hall and Zion Congregation, and we want you to know how good the Bible is. Even the old part that is said to be done away with and all those hard names to pronounce, if you really diligently study it, you'll find out there's a lot of stuff in there that needs to be understood. How many of you can say amen to that?
Amen.
We're going to be studying in the book of Numbers, chapter 19, beginning in verse 1 tonight. And we'll have the Pashas, the Bible up for you to be able to read along with us on the screen. And I have a quickie task that I need to perform. You need me to do that, Larry?
Yes, Shane can do it.
Can you do it?
I have no idea.
Okay. I'm the one that usually helps him with his shot. He didn't want me to shoot him with my gun, so he's asking for his insulin shots. You don't have to push it hard. It goes right in. Okay, so we're in Numbers chapter 19, beginning at verse 1. And we have a very interesting parsha tonight, and it's called Hukkat. And it's the Hukkat means the regulation or the ordinance, the instructions that God gave us concerning the red heifer. And the red heifer, it's interesting that the red heifer is the only place where a female cow is required for the sacrifice. And we'll see if Shane's able to do that task for me. And just ran out of time today. I apologize for running a little late. Okay. The parsha starts off, Vaydaber Yahweh el Moshe lemor. Oh, excuse me. That's what I usually says, but this time it's Va'el Aharon lemor. So he's speaking to Moses and to Aaron. And he's saying, and starting in verse 2, Zot Hukkat HaTorah Asher Tiva Yahweh Lemor Dever El B'nai Yisrael Vayikachu Elecha Parah Adumah. And that literally means that say to the children of Israel that they shall take unto you a parah, which is a heifer, a female cow. Usually it says a bullock, a young bull, but in this case it's a heifer. Adumah means red, and it says it's supposed to be tamima, without any spot or blemish, no sickness in its body, no cuts or wounds in its flesh, wherein is no blemish whatsoever, mum, which never came upon her a yoke. And that means they are definitely not yoking. No, we're talking about, Yochanan. Now, that's a kind of an inside joke between me and Yochanan. So God has plans for this heifer. V'nataten, and ye shall give her unto Eleazar the priest, the high priest. V'hotzi forth Otah, may bring her forth, El mechutz, to the outside of the camp. Mechutz means beyond the skirts of the boundaries of the camp. La mechana, that means camp. V'shachat, and one shall slay. Shachat is the slaughter with the ritual slaughtering knife for the sacrifice, and so she shall be slaughtered before his face. V'lekach, and take Eleazar the priest of her blood with his finger and sprinkle directly before the tent, the Ohel Moed, the tent of the Moedim, the meetings or appointed times. Midama, of her blood, Shiva Pa'amim. Pa'amim means faces, but Shiva Pa'amim literally means 7 times. 7 faces. In other words, before her face 7 times. Okay. And one shall burn the heifer in his sight. So this heifer is going to be a burnt offering. And her skin and her flesh and her blood, all her dung, pirsha, and yisaruf, it shall be burned up. In verse 6. And lechach, and take, he shall take, and the priest is the one doing the taking, eitz, which is wood of cedar, erez, eitz erez, cedar wood, ezov, hyssop, ushni, tolaat, and scarlet thread, or scarlet color, and cast it into the midst of the fire, midst of the burning of the heifer. And then, v'kibez, then shall wash bigdav, his clothes, his clothes, and the priest will do the washing of them, and he shall bathe his flesh in water, and afterwards he can come into the camp. He shall be unclean, the priest shall be unclean until evening. So after all this, he's still going to be unclean until the sun sets. V'ha sharef, he that burns her, utah, Yachabes, as shall wash his clothes in water, b'mayim, v'rachatz, and bathe his flesh. Okay, we've got 2 different words of washing here. Did you notice that? We have kabes, yikabes. So ye in the front is he, and since it's at the beginning of the word, it's going to be a future tense occurrence. He hadn't done it yet. Everybody see that? What are you shaking your head no for?
Answer his question.
Oh. No fair asking questions during my questions.
Double jeopardy. Oh yeah, I bet $1.
I was about to kick Larry out of the class because he was missing it so bad, you know. So he that burns her shall wash his clothes in water and bathe his flesh in water and be unclean. He shall be unclean until ha-erev, the evening, arev, sunset. Verse 9, va'asaf. And this is related to the word where we get Yosef. Can you see that?
Where?
Asaph, right here, is related, the root is related to the root for Joseph, his name Joseph. Asaph, Osaph. So Yosef, it's even got the Vav in front of it, so you could say it's actually almost a replacement for Yosef. But It means to gather up. A man shall gather up clean water, tahor. Tahor is clean. Ash. A man that is clean, excuse me. So it's a man that is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer and lay them up outside michutz, outside the camp, mechana, in a place that is tahor, that is clean, and he shall be for the congregation, la'adat, to the congregation, b'nai Israel, the children of Israel, lamashar. Brain went faster than my tongue could go. Lamish merit. Shamer is the shorish, to keep or guard, and it is to be kept for the water of nida, separation, and chatat, a purification for sin. For this is the word for sin. It shall be. So it shall be it'll be the means for purification. The kibez, and there's that word again, he shall wash. And rachatz is the other one. I started to tell you that earlier. Let's just go back up. I'm on verse 10. Here it is. Rachatz. That's the other word for wash, or bathe in this case. So rachatz is something that you do to yourself, but kibes is something you do to something else. Okay? So if you're washing yourself, it'll be rachatz, and if you're washing your clothes, it'll be kabes. Kabes. Does that make sense? And so when we're ready to do the laundry, we're going to do kabes on the clothes, on the big dive, on the clothing. Verse 11, he that touches the dead or any body of a man shall be unclean 7 days. So if you are in battle and your buddy next to you gets killed and you touch him, then you're unclean for 7 days.
If you get his blood on you.
Mm-hmm. Verse 12, gets his blood on you or dies by you, you touch him. And in verse 12 says, he shall purify with, okay, this is the sin offering right here. Chata means sin. He himself, he shall purify with this water on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. He shall be clean, but if on the 7th day he shall be clean, but if not, he purify himself, then on the day, the 3rd day, then the 7th day, he shall not be clean. I didn't really understand that. Let's go to an English Bible. He must purify himself with these ashes on the 3rd and 7th days, and then he will be clean. But if he does not purify himself on the 3rd and 7th days, he will not be clean. Anyone who touches a corpse, I think we'll go ahead and open this up and read from the English for a while. He must purify himself with these ashes on the 3rd and 7th days, and then he will be clean. But if he does not purify himself on the 3rd and 7th days, he will not be clean. Anyone who touches a corpse, no matter whose dead body it is, and does not purify himself, has defiled the tabernacle of Yahweh. That person will be cut off from Israel because the water for purification was not sprinkled on him. He will be he will be unclean. His uncleanness is still on him. This is the law when a person dies in a tent. Everyone who enters the tent and everything in the tent will be unclean for 7 days. Every open container without a cover closely attached is unclean. Also, whoever is in an open field and touches a corpse, whether someone killed by a weapon or someone who died naturally or the bone of a person or a grave, he will be unclean for 7 days. For the unclean person, they are to take some of the ashes of the animal burned up as a purification from sin and adds them to fresh water in a container. A clean person is to take a bunch of hyssop leaves, dip it in the water, sprinkle it on the tent and on all the containers, on the people who were there and on the person who touched the bone of the person killed or the one who died naturally or in the grave. Verse 19, the clean person will sprinkle the unclean person on the 3rd and 7th days. On the 7th day he will purify him, then he will wash his clothes and himself in water, and he will be clean at evening. Okay, he will wash his clothes. What's the Hebrew word for that? For cleaning clothes, washing your clothes.
Something.
It's kibez. K-B-E-S, kibez. Kibez. He shall wash his clothes. That's what the Hebrew word for washing your clothes. Kibez ha-begadim. Ha-bagado. Huh?
He's washing his clothes.
Yes.
Does that mean it's the person who's unclean has to wash it, or somebody can wash them for him?
Well, that's an interesting question. Let's go back to the interlinear and see if we can discover that one. It's the unclean person.
I am not unclean.
Just shall wash his clothes and bathe himself. Rachatz himself and kebez his clothes. Are you following me? So what if something else is going to be washed, then it uses the kebez. But if he's going to wash himself, it's going to be rachatz. Okay? And rachatz is what I do before eating the bread at the end of our service. Okay? That's rachatz. If I was to wash my clothes up here, then that would be kebez. Okay? And it'll be in Mayim, and they shall be clean at evening. And we'll go down to 20. But the man that shall be unclean and not purify himself shall be cut off. His soul. I think I went down too far.
There it is.
Hahiv, causatively he, from among the congregation. So he will be caused to be cut off from among the congregation. Ha-kahel. Because et mikdash, the object is the sanctuary of Yahweh, Timei, has been defiled. Yeah, that would be an assumption there that it's he and not she. May nida, the water of separation, lo zorak. Zorak means to sprinkle on. upon him, he is unclean. This shall be a perpetual statute, that the sprinkling of the water of separation shall wash his clothes, and he that sprinkles the water of separation shall wash his clothes, and he that touches the water of separation shall be unclean until evening. Then in verse 22, and every one which you got touches him, the unclean, he shall be unclean, and the soul that touches shall be unclean until evening. I didn't follow that very well.
Yeah, I didn't either. I do have a question, though, Rabbi.
Okay.
Wherever it says that a person will be cut off from Israel, that's not permanent, is it? Until that person can re-rectify themselves.
Well, they are cut off from Israel until they are either cleansed or they have died and they come up in the afterlife.
Okay, but so whenever it says that a person will be cut off from Israel for whatever reason, and it's not permanent. It's just until that person resolves what is causing them to be cut off from Israel. So they can still return if they get that addressed and repent and
Yeah, as long as they do it before they die, right?
right, and as long as they well, obviously. So the second part would be these regulations that we're reading are extended to us as a Commonwealth of Israel, correct? Regardless of the fact that modern Israel does not keep a majority of these regulations today.
However, we do not have the ashes of the previous red heifer.
Right, which is what I was
So
getting
therefore there is no provision for cleansing us during this age.
at. Really? So would that fall under Yeshua then?
That would be something that would be taken care of under the new covenant, but not under the ones who are without the new covenant would not have an answer for this.
So for those in the new covenant, as ourselves would be, Yeshua would be our purification.
Mm-hmm.
So then what the Orthodox, I guess in the meantime, are trying to do
They're working hard to try to restore the temple so they can have a priest that can offer up the red heifer that can sprinkle the water so that the next high priest can be ordained.
Which means...
Because he can't do it without being cleansed by the water. Yes, sir?
Where does this leave the butcher?
Along with the baker and the candlestick maker, I don't know.
The butcher touches a dead cow every time he goes to work.
So do morticians.
That's
I guess
a question.
he's going to have to use his vacation time.
That's a question I don't have the answer for. Okay.
Did I just stump the rabbi?
No, there just isn't an answer for it.
That's a good answer.
So,
I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I got an answer when I don't have.
Well, what I was thinking about is that how when they do this sacrificial slaughter, like for Passover, they don't become unclean.
Because they're obeying a
Mhm.
commandment.
Would that cover for while they're sitting there fixing for food?
Almost nearly, but not quite hardly.
Because every time you eat meat, there has to be a sacrifice of an animal life.
Yeah, even if you just go in there and open up a nice package of nice kosher frozen chicken or something and get ready to cook it for Shabbat supper, it's still dead. Even if it was killed with a slaughter knife.
I'm gonna eat my chicken live now.
I'll tell you that every chicken I have ever eaten has been dead. Okay.
yeah, same here.
There was one on TV and walked away. You remember that one?
He didn't jump on my plate.
Okay, so how are you saying
Wait,
this?
wait.
Okay, when we fix our Shabbat dinner, if it's chicken or some other meat, we are defiled?
Are you?
No, I sure hope not.
Because we have the covenant of Yeshua.
Okay.
Everybody.
If the animal or that died or the bird or whatever it is that you're preparing for your Shabbat meal was properly slaughtered for a sacrifice unto Yahweh, then that nullifies the rules for touching a dead animal, because it is kosher for our use with God as a holy sacrifice.
So that's why it's important to buy kosher meat.
Well, yeah, I would say so, but you can do your own prayers over your meat that you are preparing for Shabbat and things like that, because we don't have a temple here or in Israel either, for that matter, and we have to depend upon someone who supposedly knows the kosher laws to be able to get that done, or you can learn proper prayers for dedicating an animal to God as a sacrifice, and do that here. I don't see any reason why not, at least until the temple is reestablished. So, but if you are conscious of the fact that what you eat becomes holy because it is being used in the temple, yourself being the temple, your family being part of the temple of God, that it qualifies it in ways that other animals couldn't have been qualified in the previous times, before the new Messianic era. Okay?
Yeah, that's a fun subject.
Okay, anybody out there on the internet that's got a question on this matter, you can always email me at Rabbi Hall, Rav Hall, or at tzIon.org. Ask the Rabbi, that's a good place to send it. Ask the Rabbi at tzIon.org. I'll be glad to take a look at your question and see if we can incorporate it in our studies. Okay, so whoever touches the water for purification will be unclean until evening. Anything the unclean person touches will be unclean, and anyone who touches him will be unclean until evening. So if somebody has handled the water for purification, he becomes unclean, and anybody else touching him becomes unclean too. I will be honest with you, some of these are very hard to understand and may not have a decent answer for you on some of these things until Mashiach can come and answer our questions for us.
Amen.
I can also tell you that the scriptures say the things that are hidden belong to Yahweh, and the things that are revealed belong to us. So we can understand the things that God has given us that belong to us, but we can't always understand the things that are hidden because they belong to Yahweh. Chapter 20, verse 1, the people of Israel, the whole community of Israel, entered the Sin desert in the first month, and they stayed in Kadesh, where Miriam died, and there she was buried. Because the community had no water, they assembled themselves against Moses and Aaron. The people quarreled with Moses and said, we wish we had died when our brothers died before Yahweh. Why did you bring out a nice community into this desert to die there? We and our livestock? Why did you make us leave Egypt to bring us to this terrible place without seeds, figs, grapevines, pomegranates, or even water to drink? Moses and Aaron left the assembly and went into the entrance of the tent of the meeting, fell on their faces, and the glory of Yahweh appeared to them.
Orve, these people still do not.
You know, when people want to not find an answer that satisfies them, then they don't find answers to satisfy them.
Yeah.
And if God hands it to them on a silver platter, they still don't care. It doesn't satisfy them because they really didn't want to be satisfied. They don't want the answer to their question to be answered. It's a problem.
That's
So,
one way to put it.
Yahweh said to Moses, take the staff of the assembled the community, you and Aaron your brother, and before their eyes strike the rock to produce its water.
Well, he didn't tell him to strike the rock.
Aren't you reading along with me?
Yahweh, that's not, Rabbi, that's not what it says.
Well, say it right now. Everybody
Okay.
together.
Rabbi, that's not what it says.
What does it say?
It says to tell the rock to produce the water.
So that's the instruction, is to tell the rock to produce its water.
Yeah, that was.
You don't have to yell at it. You don't have to
Hit
bust
it or
it with your
anything.
hand or your rod or anything else. You're supposed to talk to the rock.
Oh, wow.
Who's the rock? Yeshua. What if Moses had struck that rock again? What would be the message? That Yeshua can be struck twice?
Oh wow.
But that's what he did, didn't it?
Yep.
He struck it a second time instead of speaking to it like he was instructed. He broke prophecy. The rock was not to be struck twice. Not to be struck twice. Moses took the staff from the presence of Adonai as he had ordered him, but after Moses and Aaron had assembled the community in front of the rock, he said to them, listen here, you rebels.
So he's upset. He's already upset.
Oh, yeah.
He lost his head.
Are we supposed to bring you water from this rock? Then Moses raised his hand and hit the rock twice with his staff. Water flowed out in abundance, and the community and their livestock drank. But Yahweh said to Moses and Aaron, because you did not trust me. Striking the rock showed a lack of trust. Because you did not trust me, so as to cause me to be regarded as holy by the people of Israel, you will not bring this community into the land that I have given them. Oh my Lord. Here's Moses has dedicated his whole life to bringing the people of Israel out of Egypt through the wilderness into the promised land. And now he's just been informed, because you couldn't trust me and do what I told you to do, then you will not get to enter the promised land with the rest of the community of Israel. How sad that is for Moses to have sacrificed so much and then not enter the promised land. This is Mirvah, spring, and Mirvah means bitterness. The disputation spring, where the people of Israel disputed with Yahweh, and he caused to be regarded as holy by them. He was caused to be regarded as holy by them. Moses sent messengers from Kadesh to the king of Edom. This is what your brother Israel says. You know all the troubles we have gone through, that our ancestors went down to Egypt. We lived in Egypt a long time, and the Egyptians treated us and our ancestors badly. But when we cried out to Yahweh, he heard us and sent an angel and brought us out of Egypt. And now here we are at Kadesh, the city at the edge of your territory. Please let us pass through your land. We will not go through your fields or vineyards, and we won't drink any water from the wells. We will go along the king's highway and not turn aside either to the right or to the left until we have left your territory. But Edom answered, you are not to pass through my land. If you do, I will come out against you with the sword. The people of Israel replied, we will keep to the highway. If we do drink the water, either we or our livestock, we will pay for it. Just let us pass through on foot. It is nothing. But he said, you are not to pass through. And Edom came out against them with many people and much force. Thus Edom refused to allow Israel to pass through its territory, so Israel turned away. They traveled on from Kadesh, and the people of Israel, the whole community, arrived at Mount Hor. At Mount Hor they bordered the land of Edom. Adonai said to Moses and Aaron, Aaron is about to be gathered to his people because he is not to enter the land that I have given to the people of Israel, inasmuch as you have rebelled against what I have said at the spring of Meribah.
So, Rabbi, where is Edom today? Or where would it be located today?
Let me just bring up a map and see if we can figure that. Let's see if I can find a map that'll bring that up for you. Oh my! Need my spectacles.
Well, it's saying Edom is saying here.
Go here, I don't know if it's that clear, Rabbi.
Uh-huh.
Edom right here.
Let me just see.
Was that Edom at that time?
So I'm trying to establish where was the... No, here's Edom.
You find it?
Wow. It's...
South of Boaz?
Well, I've got a couple of nice applications here that have maps. Let me just bring this one up and see if its map will be good for us.
Well, here Edom is between the Arabia and Egypt. Let's see. That's possibly what I
Looking
thought.
for atlases here. Bible maps, here they are. And it looks like they all are charged for. Let me see if I've got a good Bible map application here. But
If it takes too much time from our lesson, since we have two portions, we can skip this.
yeah, well, let me just see. Media. Maps. Aha! I knew I had them. Okay, they don't know where it is. They're all mixed up on their maps and directions here. So I can't, that's not going to be helpful. And I don't think the other maps that are around will be helpful either, because everything is based upon where Constantine's mother, who was a bar girl, went through the land and found all these places and made notes on them and gave them to her okay, Edom, this says Edom is on the east side of the Jordan, but I don't think that that's really
Yeah, that's what I
it.
thought. It doesn't add up.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. Sorry to take us on a wild goose chase.
That's all right. Sometimes if you get a goose, it's good. Have a nice roasted goose.
I might not roast it. I might keep it as a pet and get the eggs.
Yeah. All right.
Make 'em a
So
bodyguard.
next question was, or next place we were at was, where are we?
We're still in
22?
21. We're just now arriving to 21. We were on where Aaron is about to pass away. Adonai has proclaimed it, and he's to having Moses.
Oh, you're
Okay.
in chapter 20.
20 verse 22, when they traveled from Kadesh.
Yeah.
And the people of Israel and the community arrived at Mount Hor.
Yes, he just answered it. We're in 2022. Or 2020.
Good answer.
No, he actually stopped right
So they traveled on from Kadesh, and the people of Israel and the whole community arrived at Mount Hor. At Mount Hor, by the border of the land of Edom, Adonai said to Moshe and Aaron, Aaron is about to be gathered to his people because he is not to enter the land I have given to the people of Israel, inasmuch as you rebelled against what I said at the Meribah spring. Take Aaron and Eleazar, his son, and bring them up to Mount Hor. Remove the garments from Aaron and put them on Eleazar his son. Aaron will be gathered to his people. He will die there. And Moses did as Yahweh had ordered. They went up on Mount Hor before the eyes of the whole community, and Moshe removed the garments from Aaron and put them on Eleazar his son, and Aaron died there on top of the mountain. Then Moses and Eleazar came down the mountain, and when the entire community saw Aaron was dead, they mourned Aaron 30 days, the whole house of Israel. And the king of Arad, Kinyai, who lived in the Negev, heard that Israel was approaching by way of Atarim. So he attacked Israel and took some of them captive. And Israel made a vow to Adonai, if you will hand these people over to me, I will completely destroy their cities. Yahweh listened to what Israel said and handed over the Canaanim, so they completely destroyed them and their cities, and named the place Hormah, complete destruction. Then they traveled from Mount Hor on the road toward the Sea of Suf. Huh?
No, sorry. I'm just saying, here we go again with them rebelling.
Yep. They're trying to get God to part the sea so they can go back to Egypt. But the people's tempers grew short because of the detour. The people spoke against God and against Moses. Why did you bring us up out of Egypt to die in the desert? There's no real food here. There's no water, and we're sick of this miserable stuff we're eating. Manna. In response, Yahweh sent poisonous snakes among the people, and they bit the people, and many of the people of Israel died. The people came to Moses and said, we sinned by speaking against Yahweh and against you. Pray Yahweh to rid us of the snakes. And Moses prayed for the people, and Yahweh answered Moshe, make a poisonous snake and put it on a pole. And this is the brass snake.
Asherah.
And huh?
It's called the Asherah pole.
Mm-hmm.
Called what?
Called the Azareth pole.
Asherah.
Azareth.
Pole?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
No.
Moses
No,
prayed for the
that's-
people, and Yahweh answered Moshe, make a poisonous snake, put it on the pole, and when anyone has been bitten, sees it, he will live. Now I want to open up back over here in the interlinear. Why is that in 20? I lost my place. Where were we? Oh, here we go. It's verse 9. Vayaseh, that means they made, and he made, Moses made, nachas, nachaset, a serpent of brass, choset, and he put it upon the pole, hanis, and it was when nasak, someone had been bitten by a serpent. Any man, when he beheld the serpent of brass, he lived.
Is that the one they still have at hospital?
That, you know, a lot of doctors use the serpent on the pole as their
Have a little
symbol.
Yeah.
The serpent.
The
Oh,
Red
that's why
Cross.
they have it on there.
Even the Red Cross.
So it didn't, in answer to your question, it didn't say what you said as far as the name of it. Nasak.
So to paraphrase what those who didn't have the mic said, is that why the medical community in large uses the
Yes.
symbol of the snake on the pole
Yes, it is.
and the Red Cross?
Comment?
Elsewhere, you'll find Asherath in the Word of God concerning the pole.
Well, it wasn't there. It's not in this section.
Not in this section, no, it's in another section.
Can you clarify that? Were they bitten by the bronze snake or the people that were bitten
No,
by
no.
the
If they were bitten by a snake that was a poisonous snake, like the one that was hanging on the pole there, you know, they go out and look at that snake, and then they know God promised that they wouldn't die, so that they would be healed. So the people of Israel traveled on and camped in Ovot. And from Ovot they traveled. Let me see what Ovot means here.
Okay.
Ovot. It means water skins. Interesting.
Place in the desert.
Okay, so let's go back over here. I think I'm going to go over here and close out some of these. Some of these open windows is starting to get a little confusing. Let me go back to this one, and we will close it out. And we'll just start reading here, and then when I need to go back and look at the Hebrew, we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, because there is a critical question I have, because we're about to see something here.
Okay, so we just read verse 9, verse 10. The people of Israel traveled on and camped in Ovot. And that means we just read it.
I know, we just.
We just forgot.
Was it
Water skins, that's right.
Yes, okay.
From Ovot, they camped at Iye, or is it Liye? Ha'avarim. I'm going to look at that one too. I don't know where it is.
Up.
There it is.
Of both?
Ye Yahavarim. From the plural of that and with the participle of that. Yeah, a ruin.
From a ruin,
Hmm.
as if overturned, a heap.
A heap of ruins.
Havarim.
Hmm.
Habar means to cross over. So I don't know. I'd have to hold the context in my head a little better than I'm doing today to be able to understand where it's talking about, which is before Moab. Okay. From there, they removed and pitched in the valley of Zared. And from there, they moved and pitched on the other side of Arnon, which is in the wilderness that comes out of the coast of the Amorites. For Arnon is the border of Moab between Moab and the Amorites.
Okay, there it is. I wanted to expand that. The Book of Wars.
Wherefore it is said, Sefer means book, Milchamot, the wars of Yahweh, et Vahev, what he did, Basufa, in the Red
So
Sea.
is this to say that this is a spiritual book that we will encounter in the time to come? Or is this
We don't know
referencing-
for sure because we don't know if it's still a book that's extant today.
That's what I was getting at. What does the Orthodox believe?
Well, Sefer Milchamot. Let me just see if I can find out anything about it.
Okay. Believe it or not, reading this for the 4th or 5th time, I don't recall us ever addressing the Book of the Wars of Adonai. So I'm
Okay, they're
curious.
named right here.
Have we? Curious.
The Catholic Church claims they got a copy of that book in their archives.
I didn't hear that either. Where'd you? Okay.
Tell you later, Shane.
Okay.
It's best if I do it that way.
Okay, here's one that'd probably be English enough and easy enough for us to read to be able to get something out of it maybe. Let's see if it's got any merit to it. Milchamot Hashem, the Wars of Yahweh, is the title of several Hebrew polemic texts. The phrase is taken from the Book of the Wars of the Lord, referenced in Numbers 21:14 through 15. Well, some of these are fairly recent. Yochanan Hashem of Abraham, son of Maimonides, 13th century. Yochanan Hashem of Nachmanides, 13th century. Yochanan Hashem of Levi ben Gershom, 14th century. Yochanan Hashem of Abner of Burgos, 14th century. Milchama Hashem of Yinya Cafe. Sounds good. Sound like I could drink that. 1931. And then so anyway, there are lots of books of the wars of the Lord, okay? The earliest extant one looks like it's Milchama Hashem Shlomo ben Jerome, 10th century. Anyway, that's what we have on the subject. That's all I've got on the subject at the moment, at least. Okay.
That's one of those books. That's one of those books that when they were going through to select ones that were to be in the Bible, got passed over because of inaccuracies. They weren't sure it was accurate.
Some of these books, for those who know, are findable. They are a resource that can be observed, but we don't really have a high level of confidence as to their validity. Does that make sense? So there are some that probably would have more confidence than others, but since I have no personal first-hand knowledge of them, we'll leave it at that. Huh?
I said the silence.
Yeah,
Silent.
it's kind of overwhelming, isn't it? Okay, so from the desert they went to Matana, from Matana to Nachaliel, from Nachaliel to Bamot. Beaumont's in the Bible, huh? Bamot, not quite Beaumont. And from Bamot to the valley by the plain of Moab, at the start of the Pisgah range where it overlooks the desert. Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of Emori, with this message: let me pass through your land. We won't turn aside to the fields of vineyards, and we won't drink any water from the wells. We will go along the king's highway until we have left your territory. But Sihon would not allow Israel to pass through his territory. Instead, Sihon mustered all of his people and went out into the desert to fight with Israel. On reaching Hukkat, he fought Israel. Israel defeated him by a force of arms and took control of his land from Arnon to the Jabbok River, but only as far as the people of Ammon, because the territory of the people of Ammon was well defended. Israel took all of these cities. Israel lived in all these cities of the Emori and Heshbon, all around surrounding towns. Heshbon was the city of Sihon, the king of the Emori, who had fought against the former king of Moab and conquered all of his land up to the Arnon. This is why the storytellers say, come to Heshbon, let it be rebuilt, let Sihon's city be restored. As for the fire burst out of Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon, it consumed Ar of Moab and the lords of Arnon's high places. Woe unto you, Moab, you are destroyed, people of Chemosh. Let his sons be fugitives and his daughters captives of Sihon, king of the Emori. We shot them down. Heshbon is destroyed. all the way to Devon, and we laid waste the Nophach, which extends as far as
So, Rabbi,
Midva. Huh?
based on the context of this, is this sin? Because they're not giving God the glory for taking out these people. They're saying we did it.
Yeah, well, they got their chance to try it again, I guess.
I just now realized that. Then
Right.
this, we got this here, and it says, in the story, why the storytellers say, in other words, here we go again with man taking credit
Right,
for what should have been an opportunity to glorify God.
right.
I just wanted your perspective on that.
You're correct.
Okay.
They're making a mistake.
Okay. Thank you for sharing and answering.
The people of Israel traveled on and camped in the plains of Moab, beyond the Jordan River, opposite of Jericho. And then from there, we are going to go to the story of Balak. Okay, that was some good discussion that y'all came up with there in this whole section. It was very good. I liked it. Anybody have any other comments or questions?
Well, we're supposed to read through 40. It's not a leap year.
So we're supposed to read a section of the Parsha on Balak.
Yep. In regular years, you read Parsha. It says in regular years. Read
I know that. I know what it says, Shane, but we got to look and see what it means.
Okay.
It's Hukkat.
That's what we just read. Okay.
Well, I'm reading it here. It does say it's a double portion.
You're reading it incorrectly, sir. Just a minute, and I'll show you.
Please do.
I got all this stuff worked through many years ago, and it's been ever since. I've got them from very reliable sources.
Okay. I'm just reading from this.
It sounds to me like Israelites were either growing so fast they occupied many towns and cities at one time.
Yeah.
So the congregation of the people must have been massively larger than it was when they left Israel. I think
Yep.
they left Egypt.
Hukkat is the one this week. Balak is the next Parsha, and it comes up for next week. So next Tuesday night we will study Balak.
May I, Rabbi?
Mm-hmm.
Just curious, is that true or with the system? Why does it say here?
Because this is not really a leap year.
In regular years,
Uh-huh.
read with Parsha 39.
Because it doesn't work out this time. Let me get another source for you, okay?
Okay.
Here's a Jewish timeline. I'm bringing up the Jewish timeline calendar, which is very reliable. Okay, so here we've entered the month of Yuckity Tammuz.
Yuckity, yuckity.
Yuckity Tammuz.
Oh, my.
Because it's a pagan name and we don't like saying it. Okay, so here we see that on July, the first Sabbath in July, which is what we're studying for tonight, is Hukkat. And then next week we will study Balak. So it tells us that here in the Jewish Hebrew calendar system timeline. And if you look on the calendars that we have for the Zion calendars that have the parshas listed in them, you'll find out that it holds true with that one as well.
Okay, thank you.
They're right there in the wall if you want to look at it.
Right here too. So we got multiple sources to refer to.
That is an official Jewish publication calendar there. So I don't just use one source on all these things.
Cool beans.
What are you doing?
There's someone who-
You don't want it?
I don't always count as true what I learned from the traditional sources, but at least by knowing what they say, I'm able to give you an answer.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so that's why I've studied it so long and so hard. I think we're starting into getting close to the 30th year, aren't we,
I'm sorry.
Lucifina?
38?
Are we at what year are we in Zion?
You started in '89, correct?
Yeah?
Yeah, so it's almost 30 years.
28.
Yeah, so I've been studying this for a long time, and I kept making the same kinds of mistakes that you're making, and had to go back and recorrect them until I finally figured out where the problems were. So it's been a bit of a journey.
I would imagine.
Well,
The Book of Wars reminds me a little bit of that Book of Joshua. That is not one of, I just don't know if that's all reliable or not.
Jasher.
Yeah.
There are a lot of books that have not been divined as authentic or reliable sources.
Just plain water.
What do you think of the ashes of the red heifer? Yes, sir?
Chicken before the egg, we can't have them before the temple, right? We can't have. So that even if we have the red heifer, we can't do anything with it because we
You
don't have the
can't.
temple.
You have nothing, you don't have the water of purification so that you can sanctify the priesthood.
Right. Which all comes down to God's will is to, before Yeshua's return, Yehoshua's return, whether he allows a temple or not.
Larry?
Do you know if there's any validity to the rumor that there is an urn found with the ashes of the red heifer?
I don't know. It could be that, I think it was Jeremiah that spirited away a lot of the things from the holy place during the Babylonian captivity to make sure that they didn't get stolen by the Babylonian kingdom. So he hid them away in Solomon's mines, and they destroyed the entrances so you couldn't find your way into them. And they're hidden somewhere back in those mines. That's what I understand.
So the rumor that they found in 2012 the entrance to Solomon's main mine, you haven't heard about that yet?
No,
I sure like to find out more about it.
so you don't think the archives of XYZ place has any information on those?
We'll talk later.
Rabbi, so I know that this is, I guess, not very reliable. I don't know what to say. But the sharing of the temple, maybe not the rebuilding of the temple, but what the Jewish people, especially the Orthodox, are really in favor of sharing the temple. What that. What do you think about that? And do you think that would be possible?
I don't know enough about it to comment.
Does anybody?
Where did you, what, you lost me, we'll just start from the beginning.
Sharing the temple with a Muslim is not,
I know that that's a desecration. I know that that's not good.
that won't happen.
Okay.
Something's gonna happen that's not gonna be able to do it. You're not gonna be able to do that. God.
Because I hear the Jewish people on, on the Jewish channels, and they are so for it.
That's what they wanted, what's gonna happen is two different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't know.
If that happens, it'll throw the country into civil war immediately.
Yep.
Yeah, that will.
And that
Everywhere.
God's gonna come down and punish them for that because he's not gonna allow it there. That's what he says.
The people
Yeah.
there's people that are not gonna allow it.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see what will happen with the rebuilding of the temple and how it will come about.
Right.
It has to come about.
Scripture says
Yeah, it has to.
I
It's-
tend to avoid getting into speculatory comments
Right.
because I've got too many things that we don't have to speculate on to talk about.
I know, I understand, but to me, it's like that's in the news a lot
Mhm.
here lately and has been now.
Well,
So it's something that they're really thinking about doing, the Jewish people
I don't know about
in Israel.
that. I have not seen that in the news sources myself.
Oh, I have.
It's in
Yeah, we have.
There's a lot of Israel news.
Yeah.
About a whole lot of stuff right now.
Yes.
Facebook's got a lot of comments on Israel. Boy.
Yeah. No, it's just since we're talking about the temple and the red heifer,
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. What would happen with that? And I think that would be true, but it would be
There's so
interesting what's
much-
going to aspire, but what they want to do, the Jewish people in Israel.
Permission to speak
Some.
frankly about all this?
Yes, I vote yes.
There are so many Christian circles that just makes up whatever they think sounds good
Yep.
and blast it out as the news because it makes sense to them and they say therefore it must be right, that I found huge errors in. So I tend not to jump off on those bandwagons.
It's just something that they are actually seriously thinking about doing, the United States and Netanyahu and the people in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
Well, I want,
It's not gonna
I
happen.
mean, I know that but biblically, just.
Can you pass the mic over to him, please?
Biblically, I don't know what's gonna happen and how, I know how Yahweh would
Rabbi,
bring that about or not.
I'd rather not show the references that I'm about to give what I say, but the society, this is a made-up name for them because I don't want to name them exactly. The Society of Perfection of the Temple have already gathered up arms to prevent any perversion of the new temple. When the new temple is built, they're not going to allow it. They've got arms. They're well armed and
equipped.
very well equipped, very modern, very, very, very powerful.
There has to be affection to prevent that. Just like they
I wouldn't doubt it.
There's people who did.
Their bloodlines to prevent stuff like that.
There's people who tried to desecrate certain things, like destroy the remaining wall of the temple, and this society has destroyed all attempts. All the people who've tried to come and destroy. They're a very, very, very powerful group.
I would have to agree with that because there has to be God have had to have put some group to prevent that. I actually agree with you because God had to have put somebody in to prevent the perversions that is coming about right, and that's being rumored right now. Because a lot of that is rumors, and I know that there are those that are going to try to go all forfeit, but yeah.
A lot of the Christians,
Or Christians,
Messianic Jews are not
just
for that.
like Christians are mixing the Hebrew music with Christians, saying it's Christian music, and I'm like, no, it's Hebrew music.
Right.
not Hebrew Christian. And even online, there are those that's like, this is Hebrew Christian. I'm like, what?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. There are so many Christian groups that are ready to just jump on any kind of a sensational bandwagon to try to gain attention to themselves, whether it's right, wrong, or indifference, and they're too ignorant to know anything about it. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
So they want
Yeah.
to be, you know, have. But you shouldn't, or in my opinion, that we can have accept the way that Christianity does and celebrate their traditions and mix it with Messianic and the faith of the Torah and mix the two and now call it yeah, you know, because they're two different teachings. Their doctrines. There's the differences, so we can't combine the two.
But they're trying. And there are.
Well, all I can tell you is what I do.
Yeah.
And what I do is I try to verify my facts before throwing them out there. Occasionally I miss it, and I'll overlook something and then find out I put something out there that was wrong. I don't like having to retract those things, but I do it. I will do it. I'm not too embarrassed to say I made a mistake. And so hopefully I'm not making too many of them, and as far as I know, I have had nobody that could really come up and claim that I was teaching something untrue.
Yeah, that's true. That is right. Yeah, I agree.
And Rabbi, we are Jew and Gentile, one in Messiah, but I see it as the bride and the invited guest. We cannot both be, you know.
Well, there's a problem of semantics, and those who are of Jewish lineage and heritage are very jealous of those who are coming in under the Messianic banner.
Yes, they are.
That's what the Bible said they would be.
Yes, yes, it does say that. Yes,
So,
it does say
you know, so,
Just like the Muslims are jealous.
yeah.
I literally have to fight that feeling. It tries to come on me. I'd rather not have that on mic.
Then don't say it.
I wanted to hear what you said.
I said that for the benefit of the people in the room.
Amen.
So I do have a question to wrap up at the 8:30 mark. So the Parsha for the Brit Hadashah to this week's reading brings up, I think, the area that Mr. Spears was asking about earlier in regards to the serpent on the rod. Do we have a minute to go there?
Sure. If I fall asleep, kick me, okay? Just kick
Okay.
my shins.
John 3:9 is where it starts. I'd like to see what it says in the Hebrew.
Okay. John 3:9 in the Hebrew?
Yeah. Hold on, let me.
That doesn't compute.
Well, he wants to know what it would say, how would it be in the Hebrew?
Oh,
in
how
the-
it's said in the.
how is it put in the Hebrew?
I can tell you exactly how it would be in Hebrew, but not
Okay.
by what my computer won't tell me what it would be in the Hebrew. But I happen to have a Hebrew New Testament back there in my library. Let me
Okay.
just go get it. It's called the Sefer HaBritot, the books of the books of the covenants, plural.
Yeah,
Might want
specifically.
to watch your camera while I'm moving around.
Yeah.
But
Specifically, it's my apologies, 3:14.
Hold on till I get my Bible.
Yep.
Moshe lifted up the serpent in the desert.
Yes.
So must the Son of Man be lifted up,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
so that everyone who trusts in him may have eternal life. So you wanted to bring up the serpent.
So that's the connection with what we just read in this week's
Right.
Parsha, and why the world with the Lord, why serpents, why snakes? Well, here's the connection, and there's no connection to what Mr. Spears was saying about the Aseroth, or being called
Right.
an Aseroth.
Well, I don't have a reference for that, and I don't know
Right.
if he does. Okay.
Right. I know I don't,
Look
but
up look up the word Asherah in your dictionary, and it'll explain everything.
well, that's what I'd like to know. What does
Well, we don't really have
Aseroth
time
mean?
tonight. It's already past time, so.
Oh, okay.
But we'll do that at some point.
Okay. Fascinating.
Maybe Mr. Spears will get our shotguns out and see if we can clean house.
Oh, snap.
Anyway. All right, well, I guess that's going to have to do it for today. It's been a very lively Bible study tonight.
Absolutely.
And so I hope you all will join us again next Tuesday night for another experience in the Torah, where we go a little deeper than usual. And then I hope to also see you on Shabbat for us at 10 o'clock is a Bible issues class where we really get to the nitty-gritty of some of the controversial and exciting issues in the Bible.
Amen.
And then our morning service will begin at 11. Hope to see you then, and may God bless you and return you to us again safely for this coming Sabbath. Hallelujah.
Thank you for joining us for another delightful Torah study. We do hope to see you again this coming Shabbat, that's Saturday morning, for our morning service, starting with our 10 a.m. Bible Issues class, followed by our main service with worship, liturgy, and another teaching from Yahweh. And we'll see you again next Tuesday as well for the next Parsha. Visit our website at tzion.org to find more information. Thank you for joining us again, and we'll see you next time. Shalom, shalom.